Priscilla has been out there low these many decades,
Yes.
feasting off of the memory of Elvis Presley.
Mm-hmm.
What is it about what she's saying now that made you feel you had to come forward?
Well, unfortunately, everything. I mean, it's gotten to the point that where it seems like she's blaming Elvis and the family for anything that's gone wrong in the past 40 some odd years. And it was just time to stand up and say enough is enough. I mean, I feel like that, the things that she said about Elvis and even Lisa, I just think are wrong. And it's time to stand up and be counted and say, look, this is my family, a family I grew up with, a family that I love dearly. And it's time to set the record straight and just stop all this nonsense about everything that's gone wrong or anything that, any problems that she might have had, she feels like in her life, she wants to blame Elvis and the family for, and it's time to stop that.
I want to get to Lisa Marie with you, but first I wanted to ask you, you said that Priscilla has no relationship really with any of Elvis's surviving relatives, save one, and that you felt she always looked down on the Presley family.
Yes, that's true. I mean, even at a very young age, it's like it was more condescending, so to speak. Like we didn't aspire to what she was hoping to aspire to.
Which is, or was. I mean, are you similar ages, you and Priscilla?
She's 5 years older than I am.
Okay, so as a young girl, that's a big gap, but as you get older, that's nothing.
Not nothing. That's true. Very true.
So was she older than
Yeah.
you?
She's 5.
Okay, so you were about 9 or 10 when Priscilla alighted in Nashville or Memphis, at Graceland.
Yes, that's true.
And you, from the beginning, you got a sense of she thought she was much better?
Well, yes. I mean, my younger sister, Karen, we called her Susie, but anyway, she was a very loving and kind of a touchy-feely, what we call touchy-feely person who liked to hug people and so forth. And so when she would see Priscilla, she would run up and hug her. And then Priscilla told me one day that it annoyed her and that she wished that she would stop that. So I told my sister to stop, hugging her. And it really upset my sister, And it was just little things like that stand out in my mind. That she felt like she was ascending to a higher plane than the rest of us.
Donna, why do you think Elvis married Priscilla?
I think there was a lot of pressure on him. The colonel basically told him to, either marry her or send her home. And, of course, her dad, being a dad, I guess, he felt like it was time to make an honest woman of her, so to speak, and to marry her. And Elvis felt that pressure.
I forget whether it was on your podcast or I'd read this elsewhere, but the report is that it was Priscilla's father who said, if you don't marry her, this is going to be a public relations nightmare for you. It's going to be a career killer.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so, he felt like he had no choice. It's not that he wanted to marry her. It's just like he felt he had no choice to do so. He had to.
And so it must be incredibly galling for you and other members of the Presley family to see her parading around at 80 years old now as if she's the widow Presley. They divorced. He had moved on with multiple other women.
Yes.
By the way, may I ask you, do you have any knowledge of this? It's long been rumored that Elvis's real love, the woman he really was the one who got away, was Ann-Margret.
In my belief, yes, I believe that's true.
You do? Can you tell us why?
Well, I think that they were very similar in a lot of ways. They were both in show business, and I think that was probably the downfall of why they didn't make it, because they were both in show business. They both had great careers ahead of them, and that's not always a good thing. So I think he truly, really loved her. She was kind of like a female Elvis in a lot of ways,
Yes, yes.
Very very sweet and loving person. And I met her at the funeral. And
You did.
I
She
did.
was at the funeral.
Indeed, she was. She and her husband were at the funeral. Yes.
So that was part of the reason they could never get together. She was also married at the time. But what was her demeanor like at Elvis's funeral?
Well, she was heartbroken. I mean, they were very close, even though they weren't together anymore in that sense. They were still very good friends. And I've always admired and respected Ann for the way that she's been about Elvis. She kept things private. It was a love story that they shared, and she kept it to herself. So I admired her. But yes, you could tell she was very heartbroken over the situation. Yeah.
It's such an interesting contrast, Donna, now that we're talking about it, because I've seen Ann-Margret interviewed, I'm going to say within the past year or so, and she is invariably asked about Elvis and their relationship. And she, to this day, keeps it very private. She won't even really acknowledge that it was ever romantic.
That's true.
And it's such a stark contrast to the widow Presley, who's out here, I wanted to also ask you, as we begin to talk about Lisa, Elvis as a dad, what was he like with Lisa?
Well, he spoiled her rotten. He really did. He absolutely adored her. She was if there is a true love of Elvis's life, it was Lisa. He was a little girl, and he was raised in a very loving and caring home. And he wanted that for Lisa. And he just absolutely adored her, everything about her. And she was the spitting image of him.
She was.
Oh, yeah, she was. And also not only in looks, but in spirit, too.
Yes.
She was a precocious child, and she had a wicked sense of humor. And she was very much like him in a lot of ways.
I wonder if that is some of what I perceive as, because I've done all of my reading. And by the way, for anyone watching The Nerve, for my money, Donna, correct me if you think I'm wrong, one of the best, if not the best, biographies of Elvis was written by Peter Guralnick,
Yes.
Careless Love, volume 2 of his 2-volume Elvis biography. And what he gets so right about Elvis that I don't think any other biographer ever truly located was Elvis's inherent loneliness, which came at that was the cost of his genius. There was an inherent loneliness to him. I wonder if Lisa Marie's utter resemblance to Elvis, not just physically, but spiritually, emotionally, temperamentally, incites some of what I can only describe, in my opinion, as the rage that Priscilla felt towards her own daughter. Do you have any thoughts?
I do have thoughts about that. I agree with you. I think the fact that she was Elvis's daughter and that she was so much like Elvis. And I feel like that Priscilla wanted her own career and her, because I heard her say on an interview the other night, well, I wanted to show that I could do it too. And I thought that was very telling. She said that because I think she always really wanted to be where Elvis was, in that he was an icon, a superstar. And I think that is something she's always kind of, aspired to.
What an odd thing, because especially I feel when you're close to it, you would even have greater knowledge of what a unicorn Elvis was. You know, very few people are touched with that amount of talent, the gifts that he had, which were many. You talking about spoiling Lisa and like being a hugger and anyone who's been to Graceland, as I have, one of the things that strikes you about it when you walk in is, and I mean this in the best way possible, it's not a McMansion. It's not an estate. It feels small. It feels homey and cozy, and like it was built as a retreat and a respite and for domesticity. Yes,
absolutely. That is absolutely correct. It was Elvis's home. He loved it. He bought it for his parents. He loved sharing that with them, and we were all there. We were a family. We were a close family, a loving family. And, we did hug. We did, every time he'd see me, he'd walk over and I was 15 years younger than Elvis. He'd either pat me on the head or kiss me on top of the head. Hey, Donnie, which is what he always called me, was Donnie. And, how are you doing? And I mean, he was just a very loving and caring and kind, giving man. And I don't mean just in monetary ways. I'm talking about in his spirit, in his love, in the way he felt about things. And he loved to be with us. He knew that we were his safe place. We were his safety net. He knew we loved him no matter what. We loved him long before he was Elvis Presley. We loved Elvis, and he always knew that. And so he wanted to keep us close to him because he knew that we loved him. And he told me one time, I was in Grandma's room. I was spending the night there.
At Graceland.
At Graceland.
Which is on the first floor, which visitors can go see.
Yes, and I was there, and Grandma had just left the room to go into the kitchen for something. And Elvis walked in, and I was sitting in the chair, and I never forget, I was watching Gunsmoke, of all things, because Grandma loved Westerns. But he walks over, and he sits down in front of me, in the floor, in front of my chair, and he's talking to me, and he's asking me about, I was going to graduate high school soon, who I was dating and so forth, and what I wanted to do with my life. And I told him, I said, well, I'm not really sure what I want to do with my life yet, Elvis. I'm still, at odds. And he said, well, remember these 4 things. He said, you can be anything you want to be and do anything you want to do if you remember these 4 things. And I said, okay, what are they? He said, always have faith in God. Always have faith in yourself. Be willing to work hard for what you want, and never let anyone tell you that you cannot accomplish your dreams, because I'm living proof that you can. So I thought, that advice was so kind and so sweet and so giving. And he told me at the same evening, he said, Donnie, I envy you. And I said, I laughed because I said, Elvis, you're Elvis. Why do you envy me? And he said, because when you go out on a date with a guy, it's because he likes you for you. If you have a friend, it's because she likes you because you're you. I don't have that luxury. I never know if someone that I meet that I, bring into my inner circle, if they like me for being Elvis or Elvis Presley. And it's the same with a woman. I never know for sure if she loves me for me or for Elvis Presley.
That is so profound, Donna, and that is the loneliness that Peter Guralnick really explored in Careless Love.
Yeah.
There is that letter or that note to himself that he wrote. I believe this was during his Vegas residency, towards the end, and I believe Wayne Newton bought this at auction. And Elvis is writing to himself, and towards the end of it, he's talking to God, and he says, I get so alone sometimes that it's like a physical ache. And to that, so I really want to talk about what Priscilla is not only doing vis-a-vis Elvis's legacy and trying to lock it down as her own, but what she is talking about in terms of her late daughter. Now, as we've discussed on The Nerve, as part of this media tour that Priscilla is on, anyone interviewing her is prevented from asking the only question that matters, as contained in this lawsuit brought against Priscilla by 2 of her former business partners. Did you, in fact, as alleged, pull the plug prematurely on your daughter, Lisa Marie, so that you could wrest control of Graceland and the estate from your own granddaughter, Riley Keough? Donna, your thoughts?
Well, as a mother and a grandmother, that's very hard for me to even wrap my head around, that it at a time that your daughter is laying there, that you're even thinking about in terms of the estate and what's going to happen and how you can gain control again. To me, that is very damning. I can't even begin to imagine that. I can't wrap my head around it because, if Elvis had known that Lisa, and as she said in her book, and I'm going by her words especially here, I felt alone, I felt unloved, and uncared for, like I was a pawn in a game. And those are Lisa's words. If Elvis had known that, if Elvis could have been around here, and been alive to take care of her, he would have taken full control and loved her and shown her And I'm so heartbroken by that and devastated in myself that I didn't reach out to Lisa. Had I known that she was going through that, I would have reached out and said, "You're not alone. You are loved, and there's family here that wants to be there for you and care about you and teach you the things that your father knew and teach you the ways of your father and the family of having a strong faith in God and loving each other and being respectful and kind of everyone." So it was very difficult for me.
Do you think, Donna, that Priscilla is capable of such a thing?
Of love.
No, of pulling the plug prematurely.
Allegedly, I
Allegedly.
yeah, I'm not, I don't know. To be honest, I'm not really surprised at much that happens with Priscilla.
Wow. I mean, it's not a no. And I find it very interesting that Riley has largely kept, she issued one very milquetoast, my opinion, statement
Yeah.
vis-a-vis this allegation, but she has largely kept her mouth shut, which says a lot to me.
Yeah.
Do you think that Priscilla deliberately kept Lisa Marie from the Presley side of the family after Elvis died?
In my opinion, yes, I do.
Why do you think she did that?
Because we were a little too commonplace, parochial, had a strong faith in God. I remember when my mom wrote her book, I talked to Priscilla about it possibly going into Graceland. And she said, no, it's got too much God in it.
Sorry, about the book, your mom's book, which has just been republished, One Flower While I Live, Elvis as I Remember Him, which also talks about Elvis on the porch of the shotgun house he grew up in. That's a house with one room, a front door, and straight back is the back door.
Right, exactly.
Real poverty he grew up in. And
Absolutely.
He said, my dream is to buy my parents a house, and Graceland was it.
Yes.
So, but you don't think it had anything to do with alienating her to be close to her father's side of the family is to be close to Elvis as you knew him, not as Priscilla knew him.
Yes. Yes. I truly believe that she did keep us away from Lisa because of that. We grew up in a faith-based family. We grew up in a very caring and loving family. And, we have had nothing but absolute love, adoration, respect, and kindness, in our lives. And we had that for Elvis and still do today. And that's why I'm standing up now and saying my truth and saying what's true and what's not true. And,
what are some of the other things that Priscilla is saying about Elvis that you take particular issue with?
Well, the fact that she, is blaming, one thing that really upset me was she was blaming the issues or any problems that Lisa had growing up on Elvis. Mm-hmm. And, Elvis has been gone for 48 years now. And Lisa Marie, God love her, was 9 years old when Elvis passed away. Mm-hmm. And so she's blaming all that on Elvis, that Lisa had any problems. And it's not about the fact of growing up, as Lisa said in her book, without love, not feeling that love and connection and feeling like she was merely a pawn. So I think that, that she would have, having brought her close to the family, we would have taught her, we would have shown her the love that she deserved and that she needed, because we did love her. We do, still love her, even though she's gone. And that's why I'm so heartbroken that I didn't reach out. I guess in my own, to be quite honest, I felt like that there would be a misconception about it, that it wouldn't be welcomed. And until I read Lisa's book, I knew how alone that she was and how unloved she felt. And
it's so sad, and it's so true, by the way, your point about Priscilla conveniently blaming Elvis, who has, as you said, been dead for 48 years, yet she has to be buried at Graceland, and we'll get to that. Okay, so he's either the devil or he's not, okay? when, as per Lisa Marie's own writing in her book, which I have here, From Here to the Great Unknown, finished by her daughter Riley, who, as stated before on The Nerve, I think is a class act. You know, if you want to judge Lisa Marie, who Priscilla again is dragging through the mud, judge her by the daughter she turned out, who is seems a class A human being. Perhaps her daughter was not only traumatized from being at Graceland when her father died and witnessing that, but having Priscilla's live-in boyfriend molest
Exactly.
Lisa by her own self-report for 4 years. And
Exactly.
Priscilla says, oh, it was a misunderstanding.
Yes, yes, indeed. And that alone would cause, besides feeling unloved and unwanted, then have this happen. Have a man, her boyfriend, molest Lisa. I mean, that alone, those two things right there would be enough to cause problems for a child.
Of
And
course, and then add Scientology onto that. Add dumping your difficult daughter to be
yes,
raised over by Scientologists.
yes, exactly. And that's another point right there. So I feel like that in some ways, bless her heart, Lisa turned out to be such a warm and loving and caring woman because she had that spirit of Elvis in her and she had that love of Elvis with her. So she turned out to be a wonderful woman. She turned out, even though with issues and troubles that she might have had, although I feel like that they've been greatly expounded upon, and she turned out a beautiful daughter like Riley and son like Ben and the other two daughters, Finley and Harper. She was a loving and caring woman and mother, and something that she obviously, in her own words, didn't feel like she received.
So, to Priscilla's negotiated settlement with Riley Keough, her own granddaughter,
Mm-hmm.
who inherited Graceland upon her mother's untimely, tragic death,
Yes.
and who has let an email has been made public, we don't know how,
Mm-hmm.
in which Riley writing to Priscilla, having to hire lawyers before she could even bury her mother,
Yes.
to fight with her grandmother. Her grandmother was not letting go of Graceland. We're going to keep those claws in there, which to me feels very telling, because as you were to just circle back to the top of our conversation, when you said Priscilla looked at Elvis with envy and
Mm-hmm.
said, I want that.
Mm-hmm.
And her life really, the acting career never really took off. We've not really done anything of note. So this is the legacy play, right? We're going to be interred in Graceland.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know where her designated plot is and the feeling among the Presley family that Priscilla will be laid to rest with Elvis and his father and all of the Presleys?
I have no idea where she thinks that she could be laid to rest there. But in my opinion, I don't know why she would want to be. She's blamed Elvis for everything that's happened in her life, and yet, she maintains the Presley name, which, in my opinion, is not something that she should do because she was divorced from Elvis. She obtained Graceland through Uncle Vernon, and he did that to protect Lisa Marie. And when he said that, he told me that he was going to make her a trustee. And I said to him, Uncle Vernon, are you sure that's what Elvis would want? He said, no, he wouldn't.
He said, no, he wouldn't want this.
But he said, I have to take care of Lisa Marie. She is my only grandchild. She is my thoughts right now. So I have to maintain, and as a mother, I'm sure she'll provide for her and take care of her and take care of her legacy and her inheritance.
And so here we are. Here we are. We are now at a point in the narrative in this story where Priscilla has been accused of pulling the plug prematurely on her own daughter before Riley could even get there. Riley was midair,
Yes.
trying to reach her mother in order to wrest control back from her daughter of Graceland, which is, you can understand kind of why. It doesn't excuse it or or anything, but Graceland is one of the 3 most visited residences in the United States.
Mhm.
Donna, correct me. Is it right after the White House or is it number 1?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Right after the White House. And it's also considered, I did a tour of some cemeteries in New Orleans, and they said, can you name one of the most visited cemeteries in the world? And I was like, yeah, Graceland, because I've been there. It's kind of also considered that. I mean, it's living American history.
Yes, it is.
Last month, I told you about Honey Love, an independent female-founded brand whose products are actually designed by women who actually wear them. Honey Love bras are supportive and wire-free thanks to bonding technology that lifts without the dreaded underwire. Honey Love recently launched their new Cloud Embrace bra, which sold out in days. Of course it did. It's a modern wireless t-shirt bra with sturdy, lightly padded foam cups that feel like a cloud against your skin. It is a wireless bra for people who love the underwire effect without the agony. This style is bound to sell out again, so don't wait to get one for yourself. I love this product. It is really hard to find a comfortable, form-fitting bra that is also, it doesn't give you any lines. You want to look all smoothed out and just put together and ready to go. And then you can forget you're even wearing it. That's Honey Love. So treat yourself to the most advanced bras and shapewear on the market. Save 20% off Honey Love at honeylove.com/nerve. Use our exclusive link to get 20% off honeylove.com/nerve to find your perfect fit. After you purchase, they're going to ask you where you heard about them. Please tell them you're a troublemaker and the Nerve sent you. Experience the new standard in bras and shapewear with Honey Love.